As well as being the 50th anniversary of the CWI, this year is also the 60th anniversary of the foundation of the militants. Today, the Socialist Party in England and Wales and Socialist Party Scotland in Scotland, obviously enough. I suppose what that reflects is right from the beginning, when we had literally a few handfuls of supporters of the militant in Britain, then those comrades, Peter Taff and others, had the approach that as a serious Trotskyist organisation, they had to be internationalists. Capitalism is a global system and the struggle against it has to be organised globally. And so they sought support for our programme and approach in other countries around the world. And then you had the foundation of the CWI in 1974. Unlike some others on the left, we did not arrogantly proclaim that the CWI was the international. Our small forces correctly described ourselves as the Committee for a Workers' International, which is the name that we continue with today. Clearly, a lot has happened in the 50 years since the foundation of the CWI. In Britain, militant went on in the 1980s to lead mass struggles of the working class, twice defeating Maggie Thatcher, the hated Tory Prime Minister, first in the Liverpool struggle of Liverpool City Council between 1983 and 1987. That's the 8th biggest city in Britain, where we were in the leadership of a mass movement that took on and defeated the government. And then secondly, in the poll tax, which was a mass movement against an iniquitous tax introduced by Thatcher. 18 million people refused to pay it, the tax was defeated, and Thatcher was forced to resign. And all of that demonstrated our ability to build a base amongst important sections of the working class, to lead real struggles, and that also acted to help build the CWI, attracting other forces around the globe who could see that we were a serious Trotskyist organisation. Of course, things didn't just continue on an upward curve from that point onwards. Events intervened. So we had, as you will all know, the collapse of Stalinism in Russia and Eastern Europe, not genuine socialism, but bureaucratic dictatorships. But nonetheless, their collapse was a serious defeat for the working class worldwide, pushed back consciousness and levels of organisation of the working class. The CWI recognised what had taken place before any other forces did really, understood that this was a serious defeat, but also that it had limits, that capitalism would not be able to offer the peace, prosperity and democracy it was promising, that the fundamental objective strength of the working class remained intact, and what was ahead was increased economic crisis, war, climate catastrophe, and that would prepare the ground for a new generation entering struggle. And as a result, we remained intact, neither falling into opportunism, to abandoning Marxism, which many forces did at the time, but nor falling into sectarianism, of kind of just repeating revolutionary phrases with no connection to the living struggle. And so today in England and Wales we have over 2,000 members, also a powerful sister organisation in Scotland, and our social weight is greater than our size. You can see that in the role we are playing in the current anti-war movement against the horror in Gaza. You can see it in the many socialist student groups we have and will play a leading role in on university and college campuses. Above all, perhaps, you can see it with our base in the trade union movement across many different trade unions, including vying for leadership in some, currently, for example, in the elections taking place in the Civil Servants Union. And connected to that, we are also the force that is fighting for the workers' movement to enter the political field. The current situation in Britain is that Jeremy Corbyn, who was previously a left leader of the Labour Party, is not even allowed to sit as a Labour MP. The reality is the capitalist class were frightened when Jeremy Corbyn, to his own surprise as well as everybody else's, was able to harness the mood in society amongst young people and workers for socialist left ideas and become the leader of the Labour Party, that frightened the capitalist class. And what has taken place now is the current Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, on behalf of capitalism, is driving out even the embers, that the remnants of the left from the Labour Party, stamping them out. And so this year we are set to have a Labour government. The current Tory government is hated. There will be big relief when they are defeated. But at the same time, there is no enthusiasm whatsoever for Sir Keir Starmer's new Labour, who he is absolutely clear will continue with pro-capitalist warmongering policies. And we are fighting across the trade union movement that the workers' movement needs to start standing its own candidates. At the same time, working as part of an electoral coalition called the Trade Unionist and Socialist Coalition, we're trying to give a glimpse of what is possible, providing a banner for workers to stand in elections. It's modest, but for example, in the local authority elections currently taking place, Tusk has 279 candidates. So to conclude, it's been an enormous achievement maintaining the CWI and the Socialist Party in England and Wales on a principled basis over the last decades, with real roots in the working class. That has been through some very difficult decades for Marxism internationally. But we are entering a period where what we have achieved is going to start to bear fruit. Capitalism clearly is an increasingly ailing system. In Britain, productivity is the lowest it has been in 250 years. And that is what lies behind the fact that 2/3 of young people at the moment, in a broad sense, will consider themselves to be socialist. All the established capitalist parties have an incredibly low social base, almost non-existent. They're extremely weak in terms of their popular support. Of course, in that situation, there is the danger of right populism and racism trying to step into the vacuum. We see that to some extent, and we're seeing it on a bigger scale already in other countries. But at the same time, the main mood is to search for a left alternative at this stage in Britain. The working class, as an organised force, has re-entered the scene of history. We've seen in Britain the biggest strike wave since before the collapse of Stalinism, and the beginning of a new generation entering the trade union movement and fighting to transform it. Right now, the level of strikes have passed their peak, but things have absolutely not gone back to how they were before. That's shown by what just took place yesterday. The Tata steel workers in South Wales, heroically, in the face of enormous management bullying, threats that their redundancy payments would be taken away if they went on strike, have voted for strike action against the closure of the plants. That's the first time that's happened in the steel industry since the 1980s, and it's an indication of the fighting mood that exists. Our party in South Wales has been in the fore of building the movement in support of the Tata steel workers, and crucially raising the need for nationalisation under democratic workers' control and management as the only way to ensure that the steel industry continues, that jobs are not lost, but that there is a green transformation, that it is switched to green production. That is just one very important indicator of what is ahead in Britain. We're going to have a new government, and the need for militant trade unionism and for the working class to begin to have a political voice is going to be posed very sharply by the failure of that government, as it will fail, to improve in any way qualitatively the living conditions of working class people. And the Socialist Party, as the section of the CWI in England and Wales, along with our comrades in Scotland, are in an extremely powerful position to play a central role in the big class battles that are ahead.